It's my honor and privilege to introduce Mrs. Sandee Everett. She's a graduate with a master's degree from Purdue University. She's a California licensed K-12 school counselor. She has kids currently in the Canal Valley Unified School District schools, and she's a daughter of two public school teachers and a former president of an elementary school parent-teacher organization, and a current trustee on the Canal Valley Board of Education. It's my honor to introduce Sandee. If you could please use the microphone. I was informed the back is having a little problem hearing, so thank you so much.
Is this one on? Can you hear me? Okay. Yes, you can. Okay, so thank you so much, Dr. Lee, for that welcome. I would like to, I noticed a few people here, some leadership, and would like to welcome them, some leadership from Indivisible Conejo and Conejo Together, board member Jenny Fitzgerald. Mrs. Jenny Fitzgerald is here, and AAUW leader is also here. So I would like to welcome them and all members of the community who are here in attendance. My name is Sandee Everett, and I am the full-time mother of 5 children. They range in age from 25 is my oldest and down to 14. So I have 2 at Newbury Park High School next year. My youngest will be a freshman. So we're at the end of one era. We're not at Sycamore anymore, which has been many, many years. I would like to start my presentation by saying that my comments are my own opinions and my research. Some of my research differs from Mr. Dunn's and my opinions, of course, but these are my own, and I'm not speaking for the board or CVUSD in any of my comments. So, I would like to talk first about the idea that the new gender spectrum information that is being required in some grades and is being recommended for K through 6 but required 7th through 12th is belief and theory. It's often taught under the guise of anti-bullying. And most parents, of course, would be very supportive of their children. I know I would, of their children learning to treat everyone with kindness and respect, regardless of their beliefs, how they look, how they act, the way they dress, or anything else. But unfortunately, the gender theory as it exists in CDE-approved curriculum goes way beyond this goal and tries to undermine the belief system many children have been taught at home. AB 329 was signed into law on January 1st, or it was signed in 2015 and was effective January 2016. Some of the groups that lobbied, this is the sex education law, that is for sex education and HIV prevention. Some of the groups that lobbied very fiercely for this were Planned Parenthood, the California Teachers Association, the ACLU, the Gay, Lesbian, Straight Education Network, and others. These same groups, once the law was passed, then went to the CDE and heavily influenced the writing of the curriculum framework. The framework is still being discussed and will be adopted in September. This is a law that is important to this discussion. SB 179, California Gender Recognition Act. This was signed into law on October 15th, 2017. It's a housing bill intended to reduce discrimination in housing. It recognizes non-binary as an official third gender in California. So binary means there are 2 genders, male and female. Non-binary, the definition is many or infinite genders. Even though this bill was unrelated to education, the California Teachers Association lobbied for its passage. This is actual text from the this bill, and this is the verbiage that's used. It is the intent of the legislature in enacting this legislation to provide 3 equally recognized gender options on state-issued identification documents: female, male, and non-binary. Our neighboring school district, Oak Park Unified, has adopted, they voted in April, I believe, to adopt a gender curriculum, a gender identity curriculum. It starts in kindergarten. These are just a few selected examples and the stated goals that the counselor gave when she did her presentation to the board. The first grade book, so this is how this law, the third gender, and the part of SB 329, which is the sex ed, the new law about sex ed, which requires gender identity to be taught in schools. This is how this would be taught. Now the California Department of Education recommends that this is taught in pre-K through 6th grade, but the law does not require that. And so this is an optional thing that Oak Park has chosen to do. The book Neither is a parable about a bird, and one bird looks different than the other birds. There were 2 other kinds of birds in this parable, and didn't feel like they fit in. And so what the goal is, the stated goal for the counselor when she's introducing this is she's to introduce to the first graders non-binary concepts and to challenge gender stereotypes. In 2nd grade, the book that will be read to the students is Red, which is about a crayon, that the inside of the crayon is different than the outside. And the stated goals are to explore the concept of gender identity. Our interior and exterior selves might be different. And the 3rd grade book that was chosen is Sparkle Boy. The stated goal is to challenge gender stereotypes, to point out that there are more than 2 genders. The 4th grade curriculum that they chose they have stated publicly that they are going to remove that one, but they have not said what they are going to replace it with. The 5th grade one will teach the pronouns to the children. This is a comment that a parent received when a parent emailed all of the board members at CVUSD to ask if we would be adopting the K through 5 curriculum that Oak Park adopted. His response: I like Oak Park's approach and have always stood for a presentation that states that gender is not binary, but individual, and not placing judgment in any way. So in defiance of science, he states that gender is non-binary. These are the 5 curricula that are recommended by the CDE. Now, school boards are not required to adopt any of these. These, again, are curricula that were adopted by the CDE, but the CDE was heavily lobbied by special interest groups, and these curricula contain much more than what the law requires. So the one that surrounding school districts seem to be adopting, and the only one that the CVUSD has stated on a frequently asked questions page, the only one that they have looked into is Positive Prevention Plus, also known as the 3 Ps. CME will be implementing this curriculum in this fall. They sent a very clear and direct letter as to what would be taught. I thought that was very responsible and respectful of the parents to state exactly what would be taught. In Oak Park, the curriculum was adopted in 2016 without a board vote. When the parent pressed and asked why it was never on the agenda, they were told that the curriculum was adopted by the CDE and therefore did not need a board vote. This is against the law. You cannot adopt curriculum without a board vote. Curriculum costs money, and this particular one costs $279 per student. And I believe that that is a ongoing expense because it's a workbook. So I'm not sure how districts will do that, whether it's every year they have to buy the kids new workbooks or how that will work. I haven't gotten any responses so far to my questions that I've sent to our school district. I contacted them about 3 weeks ago asking to see all of the curriculum for various things and have not received that yet. But $279 per student, and that's the only one that the CVUSD has said that they have previewed. Another concern that I have is that other school districts in Orange County have received letters from the ACLU because they have put on hold their decision to adopt a sex ed curriculum. And they were told that they must adopt one very soon or immediately, or else they would be in contempt of the law. So I'm not sure how we're getting around that, but whether we've received letters from the ACLU. I have not been informed if we have, but we are not intending to adopt anything until 2020. So unless we are already compliant, and that's why we are not receiving these letters, I'm not sure, but the law is that we should be adopting something and implementing it this year, and we are not in CVUSD, according to the district staff. Okay, this is how the new gender language will be taught to it by Positive Prevention Plus. This is a list of definitions in the curriculum for the teacher. This is in the teacher's lessons. So sex, a term used to denote whether an individual is male or female as determined by a physician or other medical professional at the time of birth. This designation is often made solely upon an examination of an infant's genitals. So this is the definition that the children will be given, and they're also given that the gender is based on attitudes and feelings. So it's basically a belief rather than science. This is how this is described in the SB 179, and this is you can see throughout various curricula this same way of stating this belief. Transgender is an umbrella term used to describe people whose gender identity or gender expression do not match the gender they were assigned at birth. So you'll hear that reoccurring, that the kids will be taught that it does not match the gender they were assigned at birth. This is an example of a book a children's book. The CDE originally put this in the framework but removed it, but it is still recommended on their website. The parents, the first picture says, when babies are born, people ask. The middle picture says, is it a boy or a girl? The last picture, babies can't talk, so grown-ups made a guess by looking at their bodies. This same idea is reflected in many of the children's books. So this new gender theory will impact everyone. This is not a public school only issue. So the charter schools, there's also laws that have passed that require this in charter schools, which affects many of the homeschools. And so this is something that we all should take note of. There's an obvious difference between belief systems when one group, a protected group such as religion, believes that gender is binary, that we are created by God, purposefully created by God as male or female, and then this belief system that we are not, and then the scientific belief system that chromosomes and reproductive organs define our gender, and another belief system that they do not. So this will go into the charter schools. AB 429 or 493 is now being in the legislature. It's going through the state legislature now, and schools will also be required to provide community resources positively affirming and advocating these lifestyles to youth. The bill is specifically clear that only materials and resources from organizations and groups that positively promote these lifestyles is to be used by public schools and charter schools. This is AB 2601, which forces the California Healthy Youth Act onto charter schools starting this fall, 2019 school year. It says this bill would also require, commencing with the 2019-20 school year, charter schools to ensure that all pupils in grades 7 to 12 inclusive receive comprehensive sexual health education and HIV prevention education as specified. As specified also includes the gender identity, although many will then say the gender identity is not sex ed, but it is included in the law under the sex ed requirements. The ACORN is so far being blatantly biased on this issue. On August 8th, 2019, in the Oak Park ACORN, they made the following points. They claim that gender nonconforming kids are often targets of bullying, but there has been no evidence presented that this is occurring here. They applaud this bold move by the district. The Oak Park district is in fact implementing a heavy-handed solution that is looking for a problem. Oak Park presented no evidence that widespread transgender bullying is occurring. If the number of incidents is small, then it can be resolved easily through discipline of the bully. If this were a sincere anti-bullying program, then it would be more focused on race, ethnicity, country of origin, and religion, which according to the data from the California Healthy Kids Survey occurs 3 times as much as sexual orientation bullying. Transgender bullying is so rare that it is not even measured in the California Healthy Kids Survey. And finally, the idea that there are far left activist groups that consider the classroom as Sunday school for the far left. They want to force teachers to pass along their non-theistic religious dogma to the next generation. Some radical educators have even adopted religious terminology such as sacred classroom. Forcing a new belief system onto students in the classroom is a violation of the Establishment Clause of the First Amendment, since the government is establishing a non-scientific set of beliefs as the state's official doctrine. Now, having said all of this, I am a firm proponent of public schools. I believe that there are so many wonderful, wonderful teachers in our schools, and many of them cannot speak out if they disagree with this. They cannot. And it is the parents that need to stand up and speak out if they don't like it. And they are relying, some of these teachers are relying on the parents to come forward and to say that this is not appropriate, especially in elementary school. The opposition is going to say that anyone who speaks out is anti-transgender, which is absolutely not true. As a trained school counselor, I have a license in school counseling. I received training, and I believe every student should be respected, treated with kindness, and they need to have a place at school where they can learn. And no student should ever be bullied for any reason. And if that is ever going on in any school, it needs to be punished. The bully needs to be punished and taught that you can't do that. That is completely inappropriate. So transgender students are wonderful kids. They are loving, kind, just like every kid. Every child deserves to be loved and respected. The issue here are the belief systems that are in conflict. And should a belief system that directly conflicts with the belief system that many children are taught at home, should that be taught to all students in the schools? This is up for debate. Even though there are laws that are passed, there are many, many parents standing up and saying this is not appropriate. And this may be very confusing to many children. I believe that our school board will take the time, and I hope they will, to ask the public what we want in our community. And you can make our sex ed, we can make it as minimal as we need to meet the needs of our community, or we can make it as broad as the school board would like to do it. And so adopting a CDE recommended curriculum is probably not the answer for our community, and that is what I will be fighting for as a board member. But I will also be fighting for respecting all students and treating all students with kindness and love and respect at school so that they can learn and reach their potential academically. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandee.